What if one of the most famous lost civilizations in history was never meant to be found? It starts with a simple confusion. Atlantis, a place everyone seems to know, yet no one can point to. You hear about it in documentaries, movies, conspiracy threads, advanced technology, crystal energy, a lost super-civilization, but then you trace it back, and everything collapses into one man, Plato, a philosopher, not a historian, not an explorer, a thinker. So the first crack appears. Why would a philosopher invent or describe an entire civilization in such detail? Did he see it? Dream it? Hear it? He claims something interesting. He says the story came from Egyptian priests, passed to Solon, then to him. A chain. But here's the problem. That chain has no independent evidence. It's like someone saying, "A friend of a friend told me." Possible, but not solid. And yet, the detail is strange. He doesn't just say, "There was a city." He describes rings of land and water, engineered canals, a structured society, wealth, power, then something very human, corruption. And finally, destruction. A single day. Gone. Now pause. That level of detail feels real. Too real to be random, but also almost too clean. So the question shifts. Is this history, or is this design? Because Plato wasn't just telling stories. He was obsessed with one thing: how societies rise, and how they fall. What if Atlantis isn't a place, but a model? A simulation of human behavior. At first, everything is balanced. Power is controlled. People are just. Then slowly, something shifts. Greed creeps in. Ego expands. And eventually, collapse becomes inevitable. You've seen this pattern before. Not in Atlantis, but everywhere. Empires, nations, even individuals. So maybe Atlantis isn't about the past. Maybe it's about us. But then another thought pushes back. If it's just a story, why anchor it in geography? Why mention the Pillars of Heracles? Why place it beyond a real known boundary? That's where things get uncomfortable. Because now it's not purely symbolic anymore. It's half grounded, half floating. And that's exactly what makes it stick. Now bring in science. Modern geology says something very clear. Continents don't just sink overnight. Not like that. Not on that scale. If a massive advanced civilization had vanished into the ocean, we would expect traces, sediments, ruins, patterns. So far, nothing definitive. But then another door opens. The oceans themselves. We've mapped roughly 20% of the ocean floor in meaningful detail. That sounds like a lot until you realize it means about 80% is still largely unknown terrain. Dark, pressurized, vast. So technically, could something be down there? Maybe. But here's the nuance. Finding something underwater is not the same as finding Atlantis as described. And this is where most people mix things up. Because yes, smaller coastal settlements have sunk. Entire regions have flooded over time. Sea levels rise. Land disappears. That part is real. But a massive, hyper-advanced island empire that ruled the world? That's a different claim. And extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. So we land in a strange middle zone. On one side, the idea that it's all just fiction. On the other, the belief that it was a real advanced civilization erased by catastrophe. And in between, a third path. What if there was a small, real event, a flood, a destroyed island, a collapsing culture, and over centuries, that story expanded, layer by layer, detail by detail, until it became something much larger than its origin, like a whisper turning into a legend. That would explain something important. Why Atlantis feels both believable and exaggerated at the same time. It has just enough reality to hook you, and just enough myth to escape proof. And then there's one final twist. After Plato, the story doesn't immediately explode. For centuries, it mostly sits there, quiet, philosophical, almost ignored. Then much later, especially in the 1800s, people rediscover it. And that's when things start to mutate. Now Atlantis becomes the source of all civilizations. Then it gains technology, then energy systems, then, eventually, aliens. At that point, we're no longer reading Plato. We're reading human imagination. So the real question isn't just, did Atlantis exist? It becomes something deeper. Why do we want it to exist? Is it because we believe something advanced came before us, and we lost it? Or because we sense a pattern that we might repeat? A powerful civilization, rising, expanding, losing balance, and then disappearing. So maybe the most unsettling possibility isn't that Atlantis is real. It's that Atlantis is a mirror. And if that's true, are we looking at a lost world? Or a preview?